So, not that great of a day, huh? A little bit of rain. C equals pi d for this one, and let's call it A. We have a circle, and the diameter is 53. And then we need the circumference, right? We want to buy this decorative braid to go around this circle. How much? What is the length of that braid? So circumference is what we need. Pi you already know. It's the ratio of circumference and diameter. So the diameter is 53. You could leave your answer like this. Centimeters, or actually multiply it out. And if you multiply 53 times pi, please use the pi button. You get 53 times pi, and that's going to give us about 166.50 centimeters. All right, so the question, you got to pay attention to the question, and that will tell you what kind of answer they want, or the multiple choice. Now, this one, and it has all that stuff. So basically, it's asking what happened. What's the what do you call the distance? Let's say you take a walk. Oops. And you're walking. Right, you start here. You take a walk. You travel this semicircle. Then you go this straight line, and then you walk this small semicircle. And that's what we want to find. So we have to add. And I guess I'll try it. The big first semicircle plus this part, which is 14. Now write that that's 14 centimeters, plus this small semicircle. That's what we're looking for. All right, so under that, let's do the first one. So we're gonna have to find the circumference in this divided by 2. So circumference, and of the big circle, right? The big one. The diameter is 28, right? Because the radius, so here's the center of the circle. We know that the radius is 14, so the diameter is 28. So we're going to go pi times 28, right? Because that's the diameter. And we're actually going to multiply that out. So 28 times pi, enter. It's going to give us approximately 87.96 centimeters. So this is 87.96 approx. Plus the 14, right? Because we already know. And then now I want this part, this half a circumference. And for that small circle, the diameter is 14, so it's pi times 14. And C equals, let's see, 14 times pi, approx 43.98. 43.98 approximately. So, and this stretch here is 43.98. So now we have all three components: 87.96, which is half of the big circle, 14 centimeters, which is this straight line here, and then half of the circumference of the small circle. So you add them up, 87.96 plus 14 plus 43.98, and I have no idea what that is. 43.98 plus 14 plus 87.96. You get 145.94 centimeters. And that would be the distance around that shape. Okay. That was number 1. And now what happened to number 2? All right, 3. All right. Again, another weird shape, right? But now we have, so again, you are walking around. So the shape of a tablecloth is made of a semicircle and a quadrant, right? Find the distance around the tabletop. So again, imagine if you had to go around this shape, right? What is the distance? So first thing I want to bring your attention to is my awful outline. Let me make it smaller. Right, so first part is this. And this, by the way, is a quarter of a circle. The circumference, right? It's 1/4 the circumference of this circle. So imagine that. So now, let me draw it out. So now if you are thinking of a full circle, this part right here, now change colors, right? This part right here is this section right here. So it's a quarter. Now, this is a radius. sorry, let me go back. This is the center of the circle. Right, here's the center of the circle, and they're telling us that this is 16 inches, which tells me that the diameter, remember, that's 60, the other side here is also 60, which makes the diameter 120. So I'm going to do C equals pi d. C equals pi times the diameter, which is 120, and C equals 120 times pi, enter, 376.991184. And I'm going to take that, so I'm going to leave that 120 pi. But because I'm only interested in a fourth of it, I'm going to divide that by 4. Right? I'm going to take that and divide by 4. And that section over here, that quarter circumference, 1/4 circumference, is equal to 94.25 inches. So I'm going to write it right on top. 94.25 inches. That's done. Now, I want you to focus on this guy right here. That is half the circumference of that circle. Now, if you're going to focus on that, let me just draw it out so it's a little bit smaller. And we are given that this guy right here, well, that was the radius, that was 60, right? Guess what? This is also radius, and this is also 60. So the radius of the big circle is actually the diameter of that small circle. So for this stretch right here, for this red half a circumference, so we're going to C equals pi d. C equals pi times 60, but I'm only interested in half, so I'm interested in half the circumference, right? I'm not interested in the whole circle. So we're going to do 60 times pi, enter, and then we're going to divide that by 2. And we're going to get that this is also 94.25. So this section right here, 94.25 inches, rounded. And then we have this last stretch here, which we already know it's 60. So we're going to add the 3 parts, 94.25 plus another 94.25 plus 60. Right, so we're going to get 50 over here, we're going to get 8 over here, 18 and 6, we get 248.50 inches to go. That's the distance around this particular shape. Okay. For, hang on a second. Right, where am I? For circumference of the moon, it's approximately the distance around the circle with a radius of, so let me draw a circle. And they're telling us that the radius here is 1,736 kilometers. Find the circumference of the moon. So the circumference of the moon is the approximate distance around a circle with a radius of 1,736 kilometers. Find the circumference of the moon. Well, C equals, and well, I want circumference, and they give us a radius, so I'll use 2 pi r. Circumference is 2 times pi, and the radius, which in this case is 1,736. You can leave that in terms of pi, but I'm not. I'm going to just multiply everything. So 2 times pi times 1,736. That's going to give us 10,907.61 approx, right, rounded kilometers. And that's the circumference of the moon. Okay. 5. Here's a greeting card. It's made up of 3 semicircles. Alright, so now notice that this half a circle with this half a circle would just be one full circle. Agreed? So let's find that. So the circumference would be, well, the diameter of that little circle is 5.2, so it's pi times 5.2. We can leave it, let's leave it in terms of pi. So we're going to get 5.2 pi is the circumference. So 5.2 pi is these 2 sections, this one and this one. Okay, that's right, 5.2, because both of them together make up the circumference of a full circle. So that's, now the bottom part here, I'm going to change colors, right, is half the circumference of the big circle. While the big circle, circumference equals pi, and the diameter of the big circle is actually this whole thing, right, which is 5.2 times, sorry, plus 5.2, which is 10.4. So times 10.4. So C equals 10.4 pi. Now, to find the whole distance around the particular shape, I can just add this and this. So 5.2 pi plus 10.4 pi. You can treat the pi as if it was a variable. So we're going to add the coefficients 5.2 and 10.4. We get 15.6 pi. And we can leave the answer in terms of pi, inches, or you multiply it out, 15.6 times pi, enter. Oops, 15.6 times pi, enter. We get what? 6 times pi, enter. We get 49.01 rounded inches. Okay, approximately. 6. As part of our artwork, Sally bends the length of wire into the shape below. Here we go. The shape is made up of a semicircle and a quadrant, which is, and then find the length of the wire. All right. So let's identify the parts that we know. Well, I know this guy's 12. I know this guy's 12. So let me draw it out. This guy's 12, right? And this is the center, right, of the circle. They're telling us that this is also 12. So I need to write now. So we're going to add, let's identify the part. I need to find what this is. I need to find what this is, and this. There are 4 parts that I need to add. Well, this one I already know. It's 12, right? Now this part right here is 1/4 of the circumference of that circle. Well, that particular circle, c equals pi d, well, this is the radius, which is 12, so the diameter would be 24. So c equals 24 pi. We're going to take 1/4 of that. We're going to need 1/4 of the circumference. So we're going to take 1/4 of that, and 24 over 4 pi. So 1/4 the circumference of that circle would be 6 pi. So this guy right here is 6 pi. So I need this. I already have this. I have 6 pi. Let me write 6 pi over here. This is 12, and then I need half the circumference of that, right? The bottom part. So this bottom part right here, it's half of the circumference. So let's find the circumference first of all. So circumference equals pi times d. The diameter is this whole line here, which is 12. And if we know the radius is 12, we know the diameter is 24. So it's c equals pi times 24. And we're going to divide that by 2, right? We're going to divide that by 2 because I'm only interested in half. So the circumference, or that half a circumference, is going to be 12 pi, right? Half of the circumference is going to be 12 pi. So now I have my 3 parts. So it's 12 pi, so we're going to add this stretch here is 12 plus 6 pi, which is this section right here, plus 12, which is this section right here, and half of the circle, which is 12 pi. We can, obviously we need to multiply the 6 pi and the 12 pi. So we're going to do 12, let me write 12, let me do 6 pi and 12 pi is 18 pi. 18 times pi, enter, plus 12 is equal to 80.55 approximately, rounded. What's the unit? Centimeters. Okay. 7. Here's a tire of a car. The radius is 10.5. How many revolutions does the tire need to make for the car to travel 13,200 inches? Okay, so let's find the circumference. Circumference is pi d, or 2 pi r. So let's use 2 pi r. Circumference is 2 times pi times the radius, which is 10.5. Let's multiply that out, and we get 2 times 10.5 times pi. Enter. We're going to get that the circumference is approximately 65.97. Okay, and now change that. 67.97. What does that mean? It means that every time that this tire makes, and here's my tire, every time it goes around, right, does one revolution, this distance that it travels is 65.97 inches. So every revolution, every time the wheel goes one full turn, right, goes around once, it travels 67.97. Now, I know that they're asking us, hey, how many revolutions does the tire need to do to travel 13,200 inches? Well, it's just a matter of division, right? So let's divide that out. It's 13,200 divided by 65.97, and we get that the tire has to travel about 200.09 revolutions, right? So it has to rotate 200 times and 9/10 of the next one. Okay. 8. Here's a shape of a field. There's a running track around the field. Find the length of the running track. So again, imagine if you were to run around this track. Well, we know that this is 100 and we know this is 100. So all we need to figure out is this part here, this semicircle, and this semicircle. But guess what? These two semicircles make one full circle. So C equals pi d. C equals pi. And what's the diameter of this circle? Well, the diameter is 64. So let's multiply that by 64. So C equals 64 pi, or 64 times pi. Enter. It's going to give us approximately 201.06, right? The circumference. Well, we need the full circumference because it's 2 half circles, right? So it's 201.06 plus 100 for this stretch of the track, the straight stretch of the track on the top, and the bottom, which is another 100, so that gives us 200. So total 41.06 meters. So to go around this particular track, it's going to be 400.06 meters rounded. Okay. All right. Not too much to do. Was that it? Oh, sorry. There's a little bit more. Let me go back. So we have that information. Let me just forward this. A little bit more. Actually, an athlete ran around the track at an average speed of 8 meters per second. How many seconds does it take to run around the track? Okay, so let me just memorize that. 8 meters per second. How long does it take for him to go there? All right, so the distance around the track is 401.06. So remember, distance around the track is 400. He travels at a rate of 8 meters per second. So remember that formula we used, D equals RT. The distance is 401.6. The speed that he's traveling at is 8 meters per second. T is what we need. So we're going to go divide both sides by 8. T, our time. If the whole track is 401.06 meters and you can run at 8 meters per second, well, we're going to divide that by 8. And the time it's going to take for you to travel around that is 50.13 seconds. Okay? And that's the answer for B. All right. That's it.